Hey, what's good, guys? It's Austin here, or Luna. So I have a pretty interesting story time for you guys today. I hope you enjoy this one. And we're just going to jump right into this, okay? So this story time takes place almost a year back. I was dating a girl at the time, and at the time, things were going all right. And we got invited to a party by one of my friends. And that's where this all starts, okay? She picks me up, we go to this party, and the party itself was fine. Everyone was having fun, everyone was being safe, it was great. But problem is she drove us there. And at the party, she was drinking, meaning she wasn't driving home. And she already knew that. She already knew that she drank a little bit too much. So she handed me her keys and asked me at the end of the night if I could drive us home. Now, I don't drive very often. I'm not a bad driver. I've driven multiple times with few problems. I just don't drive that frequently because I don't have my full license. I only have my permit right now, which means I have to drive with somebody who's 21 and owns the car I'm in. So, once in a while I'll drive, but it's only if I really have to or if I feel like it. But in this situation at this party, I really did not want to drive home. I wasn't drinking or anything. I was totally sober. But it was just nighttime, and the area that we were in had a lot of woods, meaning there was probably deer around, and I just had a sketchy feeling about it. So I tried asking her. I was like, "Are you sure you don't just want to Uber home, and then we can come back in the morning and get your car?" And she was like, "No, I don't want to leave it here overnight." And I wasn't going to fuck her over and leave her car there. So I was like, "Okay, it's fine. I'll drive. No big deal." Now, probably would have been a better idea to just leave it there and Uber home, but it's okay. We leave the party, we get into her car, and I start driving back to her house. And her house wasn't even far away from the party at all. It was only a 5-minute drive. So I wasn't even that nervous, and I was driving well. I was going the speed limit, being perfectly safe. Like I said, I'm not a bad driver, but on the last minute of the drive, I was coming down this main road, about to turn into her neighborhood, almost there, just about to get home. And of course, a fucking deer runs out from the woods next to the road and just stops right in the middle of the street. Doesn't keep running. He just stops and he looks at the car like, "What up, y'all? Oh, I'm about to fuck up your night." So, of course, I slam on the brake to stop as fast as I can. And like I said, I wasn't speeding, so that's great because it wasn't that hard to stop. And I also turned to the right. That way I could go around the deer because he wasn't moving out of the road. But when I went to the right and stopped, right before I came to a full stop, the right headlight of the car hit the wooden guardrail on the side of the street by the shoulder. And I was just like, fuck. And it wasn't a hard crash or anything. It was barely even a crash. But of course, I heard something when we hit the rail. And I was just like, fuck. And I look at her and she looks at me and I'm like, "I'm so sorry." And she goes, "It's okay. It's fine. That deer came out of nowhere." I'm like, "It's all good. I'm just going to check and see if there's any damage." So I get out of the car. And the deer is still just standing there, staring at me. Just standing in the middle of the road, just staring at me still. And we're just standing there looking at each other. And I go, "You can go now." And it still just stared at me. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I start walking towards the front right side of her car, just very slowly, just so nervous because, first of all, I don't want to piss that deer off and have it, charge at me. And also, I don't want to, see the damage. I was afraid that I, completely dented the front right side of her car. So I walk up to the light, and luckily, just the front right headlight had a crack in it, and just a little piece of the headlight glass was on the ground. So I picked that up, and as I was picking it up, the deer ran away back into the woods. So that's good. He wasn't at risk of getting hit by a car or anything anymore, so that's very good. And I put the glass into the car, the piece that was on the street, and the light was still working, so the headlight wasn't totally broken or anything. And the paint and the whole right front side of the car was fine, other than that little crack in the headlight, because I just barely tapped that wooden guardrail because we were pretty much almost at a complete stop when it happened. So yeah, basically after that, I got back in the car and I told her, I was like, "It's all good, just a little crack in the headlight and I'll pay for it, I'm sorry." She's like, "No, it sounds like an easy fix, I'm glad it went the way it did." So after this, I put my seatbelt back on and put the car back in drive and drove onto her neighborhood road, got to her house safely, pulled in, parked the car, everything was fine. We went inside, went to sleep, and then we woke up the next day, talked to her dad about it, and her dad knows how to fix cars, which is amazing, and he was able to fix it for pretty cheap, and it was good. Just moral of the story is, if you feel uncomfortable about doing something and it could potentially lead to something dangerous, then don't do it. And go the speed limit if you're driving, please. And never drink and drive, even though that didn't happen in this story time at all. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this story. Leave a like on the video if you guys did enjoy. Feel free to leave your guys' story times in the comments down below and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys all later. Peace.
Welcome to a mind on decline, got a better sense of guidance. I was geeking Ron Weasley out here fucking with Hermione's. I could hardly handle me, I can't take on any clients. We arguing religious synonyms for students.